In 3, 2, 1, action.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to call the February 2nd business meeting of the Croton Harmon Board of Education to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Glynn's third grade class will be leading us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Born and unborn.
Thank you so much to Ms. Flynn's class for that fantastic recitation of the pledge. And so normally what happens is a teacher whose class recites the pledge sends me a couple of paragraphs summarizing what they've been most recently doing in class, and I'll then put that into my own words. But actually, John and I had a chance to visit Gina's class yesterday, and what we thought was going to be a 5-minute visit turned into about 20 minutes because Gina grabbed us and shared with such great excitement what it is that her class has been working on related to Eagle Fest on Saturday. So I thought instead of attaching my words to it, I would just read to you what Gina shared directly in her words. And so she shared, our third grade students study bald eagles through an integrated science, social studies, and ELA unit. Bald eagles migrate to the Croton-on-Hudson section of the Hudson River each winter, providing us with the unique opportunity to observe this bird in our own backyard. In addition to learning the anatomy, behaviors, and life cycle of the bald eagle, students realize that once on the verge of extinction, the bald eagle's resurgence and current flourishing presence is a gift to us and our environment. This week is the most exciting week of our bald eagle units as students receive the gift of in-person eagle observations and in turn give the gift of their artwork to Eagle Fest. All 5 third grade classes joined by parent chaperones are taking field trips to the Hudson River this week to observe bald eagles with a local naturalist. Students are also putting the finishing touches on their nonfiction bald eagle posters to be displayed in the designated tent at T-Town's Hudson River Eagle Fest this Saturday at Croton Point Park. Students and families are invited to a third grade artist reception gallery walk followed by the full day Eagle Fest program. Over the years, this bald eagle unit has forged connections across our community from teachers to students, parents, local naturalists, T-Town, and the extended community. After some limitations in recent years, we are all so thrilled and grateful to get back to our bald eagle unit this year in its entirety. So thank you for those great words, Gina, and for all the work that you're doing with your class. And thank you again to the class.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Walker. Before we approve our agenda, I would like to take a moment of silence in memoriam of Karen Colombo. Many of you know Karen as a longtime resident of Croton and also a longtime aide at CET. She and her husband Sam are very active with the Carrie Chapin Run Against Hunger, and she was also very active with the Croton Caring Committee and Croton Seniors, and we offer our condolences to her family. Recommended action that the Board of Education approves the agenda as presented. Second. On the question? All in favor? Aye. Oppose, abstain, motion carries. All right, we'll now move into my report. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for those of you joining us in person or those tuning into our live stream or recording. We have a couple of items on tonight's agenda that are always closely watched topics. Next year's school calendar and a budget presentation. As you will recall, we've made a change to the budget presentations. Rather than hold one budget Saturday going over the budget, we will have several presentations over the coming weeks where our Assistant Superintendent for Business, Denise Harrington Cohen, will present specific area budgets. Tonight's presentation will be of the operations, buildings and grounds, and transportation budgets. We hope this revised format will give the community greater insight into the budgeting process, and we look forward to hearing your feedback. I also have a few updates from some of our PTAs. The high school PTSA has been very busy lately. In partnership with Bespoke Education, the PTSA organized a 12-session in-person SAT class that started this week at the high school. They've also created a relationship with Ivy League Drivers Ed, offering virtual classroom instruction. With this, the PTSA circulated a document on what to know if I want to get my junior driver's license at 17. For Valentine's Day, they will be partnering with Student Faculty Congress to sell carnations and lollipops in the lobby of the school. But perhaps most relevant to the community, the PTSA is hosting CPR training. Registration is now open, and you can find the link in our agenda tonight. This is for adults and children ages 11 and up. Training includes what to do in a choking emergency, compression-only CPR for infants, children, and adults, how to use an automated external defibrillator, how to use an EpiPen and Narcan. There are 2 different options, so please check them out and consider registering. From SEPTA, SEPTA will be hosting a presentation on school avoidance, understanding it, and management tips, and that will take place on Tuesday, March 7th at 7 p.m. And over at CET, they just closed up their Valentine's Day cookie kit fundraiser. So if you ordered a kit, that can be picked up in the back parking lot of CET on Saturday, February 11th from 10 a.m. to noon. The Cards for a Cause fundraiser orders are due by February 10th, and the order information can be found on cetpta.com. And the PTA will also host a principal's coffee on Wednesday, February 15th at 9 a.m. in room 9 at CET. And the topic will be social emotional learning, how CET's counseling team supports your children inside and outside the classroom. And lastly, our district clerk, Tracy Borges, will share some information about the upcoming trustee election.
Thank you, Sarah. So this year's board election and budget vote will be held on May 16th, 2023, from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. at the Cortland Harmon High School. And this year there are 3 board trustee seats at large, serving 3-year terms from July 1st to June 30th, July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2026. Nominating petition packets are available in English and Spanish and can be downloaded from the BOE website or for pickup in the lobby at the district office. And they are due back by Monday, April 17th, 2023. This year petitions require 38 qualified voters to sign the petitions. And for anyone who would like more information on becoming a school board member, I know our board will probably put something together in March sometime, but Westchester Putnam School Boards Association will be holding a virtual workshop on April 13th from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. So if the petition packets, a link to the workshop and any other information regarding running for the school board and the petition packets are available on the BOE website, or you can email the board at boe@trustee.org, or you can also contact me and I'll be happy to help.
Thank you very much, Tracy.
Thank you.
All right, this concludes my report, and we will now begin our first hearing of the public. We ask that anyone who would like to address the board use the podium and state your name. Please give your email or contact information in the sign-up sheet provided, and we ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes. Thank you.
My name is Ed Riley. I live on Truesdale Drive. Get the opportunity to address the board. In exercising First Amendment rights near schools, which I'm becoming an expert at, it comes to mind that both the parents and the children of this district need some instruction on the First Amendment, the rights that people have, without being threatened physically. And that when they report incidents, they shouldn't lie about those incidents when they report on police, which is one of the reasons they go to the police first and tell them what to do. But this district has a problem with that. If it weren't for cops coming by 2 different instances, one adult male, 6'4", wanted to get physical, and there was a cop right there. The second time, a group of kids figured they were going to have some fun. I taught for 20 years, so I know trouble. And so the cop came by at the appropriate time. We're like, the purpose of my picketing at that time was a pronoun policy for this school, for any place, quite frankly, in the United States. My pronoun policy that no student, no parent, no classmate, no teacher, no administrator, no school employee, no consultant No contractor, no visitor, no guest, no citizen can be required to use personal pronouns describing another person other than those describing the sex they were born with. If a student has severe gender identity issues that cause class disruption, we're talking about a person out of control. Impersonal pronouns, nicknames, or a legally changed first and last name may be used, legally changed. Otherwise, you may find yourself in court. This may be only done after consultation with students, parents, teachers, and principals, unlike many of the court cases we've seen around the United States. Needless to say, taunting, bullying, mimicry, shunning of students with personal issues is not acceptable. Equally unacceptable is requiring students to acquiesce, affirm, celebrate, award, or reinforce another student's or teachers or administrators or employees' delusional behavior on demands. In a pinch, don't know what to use an impersonal pronoun. They use their last name. Second item, in this regard, you probably read that the National Health Service, which is falling apart in Britain, by the way, government healthcare, has just removed and closed their gender transition clinic because they view it as an epidemic, an unanalyzed epidemic. And they warn doctors not to promote gender or sexual transition unless it's under extreme circumstances. Unlike the United States of America, where hospitals will profit to the tune of $200,000 off that surgery.
Good evening. My name is Patty Buchanan. I'm a trained climate reality project leader, a leader of Croton 100, and a Croton School District alum and a Croton School District taxpayer. I'm here today to ensure that carbon has a seat at the table of our budget and to be more specifically addressing electric school buses. Regarding the transportation electrification, unfortunately, planning and implementation are not keeping pace with the action that is needed to stabilize our rapidly deteriorating climate systems. Global emissions increased in the year 2022, bringing man-made greenhouse gas emissions to the highest level ever. The accumulation of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere is destabilizing our climate systems, making the future for every student in this school district a perilous one. So here's the good news. There have been recent positive developments for funding to purchase electric school buses and infrastructure. New York voters approved $500 million for buses in November. NYSERDA e-bus coffers have been replenished with at least $8 million as of late December of last year. NYSERDA funding criteria has been relaxed so that we no longer have to scrap a bus in order to get a new electric bus. NYSERDA will cover 80% of a purchase price of an e-bus over the purchase price of a fossil fuel bus. Croton now meets NYSERDA's recent, quote, disadvantaged community, unquote, criteria. All of Westchester continues to be a federally defined CMAQ zone, which means our air quality falls below federal standards, and we are now in an advantaged position for e-bus funding. The federal government, through the EPA, has recently allocated $5 billion for electric school buses. I am dismayed to see that the budget slide deck posted on your website today does not mention anything about these developments or available funding for electric buses. I'll close with a few simple asks. Please zealously pursue and complete the e-bus funding process in advance of the May ballot. Please do not go into the budget adoption meeting without a clear understanding of available funding. Please do not confuse and divide voters on the May 16 ballot by using adhesion clause or other contingency propositions. Please do not require voters to approve funds for fossil fuel buses in order to approve funds for e-buses. Please do not expect voters to approve budget requests without a firm commitment as to how those funds will be spent. And as always, Proton 100 welcomes an opportunity to work with the school on decarbonizing matters. Thank you very much.
If we have no one else who'd like to speak, I will turn it over to Superintendent Walker for his report.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. Good evening, everyone who's joining us in person and all those watching from home, either live or at some point in the future. It is an exceptionally busy time in the school district. There's a ton going on. I would qualify almost all of it as great. And I look forward to sharing a few of those things tonight. And I know that Molly will share in greater detail a couple of the items that I'll speak only briefly about. And I wanted to begin where we normally do with the people, right? The folks who make the district the special and amazing place that it is. And we always make sure that we spend time welcoming new members of this fantastic team through what we call the Tiger Welcome Initiative. So I wanted to issue a Tiger Welcome to Greg Ganos, a new member of the transportation team. He is the driver on the Alligator Run. For those of you who may have seen him driving around our community. I would describe Greg in a couple of ways. First, an exceptionally positive person who is overwhelmingly pleased at the opportunity to be doing this work here with this team. And the second way I would describe him is of the probably 30, maybe 40 different new staff members that we've welcomed through the Tiger Welcome. He is by far the most excited about this particular program. I don't typically get a ton of emails from bus drivers, unfortunately, and so got one not that long ago from Greg. All right, let me make sure I open this right away because I want to make sure that everything is okay. And the message was, Steve, just wanted to check in on when my Tiger Welcome was going out. I don't want to miss it. So, Greg, here it is, sir. Congratulations. Welcome to the team. When Greg's not at work, either in the transportation center or on the Alligator bus, he's a dedicated martial artist, both within his practice and teaching others. So welcome to the team, Greg. Thrilled to have you. Also want to issue a Tiger Welcome to new school psychologist at PVC, Jada Elder. Jada came to us after completing her internship in school psychology at Poughkeepsie High School. She's a self-described homebody. When she's not at work, she enjoys yoga and binging on mystery series. And one of the things that will stand out for me for Jada as long as I know her, and I got a chance to share this with her the other day, is when we do final interviews for faculty, we do them together as a district office team. So the five of us, John, Jared, Denise, Rachel, and I get in a room together and interview all the final candidates. And normally, we'll have this really robust discussion after each candidate leaves and have normally a really good discussion about which person we think is the best fit for our system. And in Jada's case, after she left the room, we just sort of looked at each other and I think almost simultaneously said that young lady is going to be a star. That young person has the potential to be a star here for a long time. So it was one of those really, I think, nice moments for all of us to remember. And we look forward to watching her trajectory toward what we know she can be here with the Tigers. So Jada, welcome. Also wanted to share briefly that across the system, students and faculty had a chance to celebrate the Lunar New Year, the year of the rabbit, with the Chinese New Year. So I wanted to thank our world language department, specifically our Mandarin teachers, for all the work that they put in to making that a celebratory time for our students. Also wanted to thank the first grade team at CET and the parents and PTA there for sponsoring a lunch of Chinese food last week and inviting John and I to join them, or at least being okay when John and I kind of invited ourselves. So thank you to everyone for making that a very memorable experience for our students. Also wanted to make sure that the Croton 125th anniversary committee and their work is on everyone's radar. And specifically next Friday, we look forward to wishing Croton-on-Hudson a happy 125th here in the auditorium at the high school. I'm not sure if there are still tickets available. I got mine a few days ago and was worried that it was going to be sold out at that point. So looking forward to that evening and all the work of this committee. Caroline Whiting and Alana Frace and the entire team has done a lot of thinking and a lot of planning. And I know this because I've attended a couple of their meetings and then ended up on their email list. And even over the weekend, my phone just explodes with emails. These folks are doing a lot of communicating and a lot of planning. for some really ambitious events. And so Carolyn and Alana, I did want to use this opportunity to say that if you needed any representative from the board to dress in period costume next Friday, I have it on good authority that a certain vice president of the board, Mr. Haber, would love to do that. So please feel free to reach out to Neil if you need additional actors or period wear for that experience. Looking forward to it all. Also wanted to make a reference again to the Eagle Fest on Saturday. As I said earlier, John and I had a chance to visit several of the third grade classrooms, and Gina Glynn grabbed us and showed us the stacks of Eagle Fest posters that the kids had made, and I got a chance to spend a really good amount of time talking to them and to her about the thinking that went into that. Not only the artistic design, but the facts and thinking about Eagles and their lives and impact on the environment and on the community. So while it will be certainly a brisk day on Saturday morning, we hope that everybody gets a chance to come out and support that outstanding event and see the artwork from our students. Also wanted to briefly mention and thank Brian Healy and the entire village board for their support and their collaboration. One of the things that Sarah, Neil, John, Denise, and I get a chance to do on a somewhat regular basis is to meet with the leadership from the village to ensure that we have open communication and collaboration. And I happen to feel just great about the relationship there, the support that we get from them. They're very thoughtful in their communication with us. And I think we recognize that great schools grow from great communities and vice versa, right? That there's a symbiotic relationship between great and wonderful schools and great and wonderful communities. So I thank Brian and the entire village leadership team for all that they do. Yesterday was one of those days where you really, I think I can speak for John, you really wouldn't have to pay us to come to work on a day like yesterday. It was just a great day across our system. And one of the events that made it great was, yeah, Denise, no note on that.
Yeah.
One of the things that made it great was the opportunity to take part in our first ever computer science fair. And so this was the culmination of a lot of work, a lot of thinking, and the collaborative passion project of Ms. Finan and Ms. Lim from PVC and the high school coming together with a ton of really talented students, Molly included, to create, I think, 38 or 40 different experiences in a range of different coding and computer science and technology related experiences, gaming, artificial intelligence, kind of everything you can imagine. This was something that I know the administrative team was really looking forward to, and between John and Jared, Michael and Nicole and Laura and Mark and Erica, we did eventually get out of the way and allow the students to actually interact with some of it, but we had just a great time, and it's always fantastic and exciting to be present for the start of something that you can see becoming part of the DNA of the system. And I think we got a chance to see that yesterday. So again, thank you to those two phenomenal teachers and to all the students that made that happen, and to the team from EduTech that did a ton of work behind the scenes to make sure that everything went off as close to without a hitch as possible. Also want to mention another great part of yesterday was the celebration of the Global Day of Play at CET. And one of the things we talk about in terms of a great school experience are those moments that we can look at and see kids making memories that we hope will last them the rest of their lives. And that was one of those mornings yesterday. I think hopefully for a lot of young people at CET. And it was great to see kind of some games that I think we would describe as more kind of old school games finding popularity among our kids. We saw kids playing jacks. We saw kids playing Battleship, Uno, and all manner of different interactions. But getting a chance to be in that kind of unstructured play environment is so important for young people of any age. And I took a picture of, actually, that's Gina Glynn's classroom. Again, that was the schedule for yesterday in Gina's class, was unpack, quick Zern activity, play day meeting, and then play. That's a pretty good schedule, right? That's a pretty good schedule for really anybody. We also got a chance to, at least I got a chance to show off some of my basketball shooting skills that made me a decidedly mediocre high school basketball player. Unfortunately, it was recorded by a member of the faculty. And so that made its way around the team pretty quickly, but really just a fun, great day for for us, and I hope everybody at CET. So thank you to Carrie and Craig and all the faculty and staff who made that possible. Also wanted to mention that on Saturday after Eagle Fest, it's going to be extremely cold, so why not come to Ossining High School to the auditorium to watch, I think about 36 of our musicians participate in the honors band and orchestra concert. I had a chance to talk to Sarah O'Brien and Lisa Dwyer yesterday, and both of them are really looking forward to this. So I hope that I see many of our community members there to support our student musicians. Wanted to mention also that today we began kind of the new phase of taking what was the vision associated with the Future Facilities Project and making it into the reality of the Future Facilities Project. And that is in the way of architectural schematic design meetings. So thanks to a ton of leadership from Denise and others, we put together several teams, all consisting significantly of members of the faculty. We've got a chance to lend their vision to the various spaces. We began this morning with CET. I got a chance to, I think, John, you were able to attend all 4 of the sessions. I got a chance to attend the session related to the library makerspace and the outdoor amphitheater. And those were really enjoyable and inspiring conversations. And Walt and Sarah and Sue Davidson from KG&D, as always, outstanding. You can feel the energy from the faculty who were in those spaces thinking about what this can be, and I think appreciative of the fact that there are a lot of times you can go an entire career without getting a chance to weigh in and envision what your learning space can be. And I think the team here realizes this is a special opportunity that each of us have to get a chance to lend our voice to what we want the spaces to look like, and then to watch those come to fruition over the next few years. So the start of an exciting new chapter for our system. And I guess that's it. Wow. Okay. Well, thank you for the time as always.
All right.
Neil?
I just want to add one thing about the 150th,
125th.
125th, yep, is that tickets are available on the village website through Eventbrite. I don't know what, if someone shows up at the door, whether they'll be full up, but that's where you get your tickets.
I think they're sold out.
Yeah.
Very wouldn't be surprised.
Well, it costs a zero, so,
Not sold, but
yeah, I mean.
reserved. Yes.
Basically done.
Yes.
Right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to turn it over now to our student ex officio, Molly Levitt, to give her report.
Hi, so it's been a really eventful last couple of weeks. I'm gonna start off with the start of the second semester at the high school was on Monday, January 23rd. And CHHS quarter 2 report cards were published on Tuesday, January 31st. I put the 27th in my report, like my official report, but there was a bit of delay, but they are out now. So in case you were worried about that. I'm also going to talk about the computer science fair yesterday. It took place yesterday in the high school Aux Gym, and there were over 30 exhibits that were run by members of the CHHS programming club, the PVC programming club, and Miss Lim's computer science classes. And they used interactive and engaging exhibits to show the many different things that code can do. There was this one 7th grader that literally showed me how to do my own exhibit, which is really humbling. I'm not even kidding. So, yeah, I think all the 7th grade math classes came to see the fair, but then there were a fair amount of high schoolers that just poked their head in between periods and just looked around. So I think it was a really cool experience. Also the CHHS Advisory Committee, we last met on Wednesday, the 18th, January 18th. At the meeting, we formed groups and we'll each select a project to work on for the proposal at the upcoming February meeting, which I think is the week after next. And we also sent out a survey to the entire student body to get their thoughts, and we went over all the responses. And there were some really good ideas in there. So we definitely are taking them into account. Also upcoming is the incoming freshman parent orientation. It's Wednesday, February 8th at 7 p.m. And families will learn about different classes offered at the high school and other academic aspects of the high school, as well as the resources and opportunities available to students. And this also includes an orientation for families whose primary language at home is not English. This is going to take place at 6 p.m. just before the full event. and the school will provide translation, dinner, and childcare. And also, I just learned this, the CHHS PTSA is apparently partnering with Revolution Prep to offer free practice SAT and ACT exams. You can sign up to take the tests by going to the link in Dr. Dubek's weekly newsletter. If you're an interested student, you can find that on the website. I think the next free SAT practice is this Saturday, the 4th, and then the next ACT one is Saturday, March 4th. So I think that's a really good resource. You should check it out if you're taking those tests soon. And yeah, and I want to just put it out there that Student Faculty Congress, we're holding our ping pong tournament on Wednesday, March 1st at 7 p.m. right here in the high school, the Ox Gym. Admission is $5 and the competition can get pretty heated and the money, and then, yeah, we're hoping for really good attendance because all the money goes to a good cause. All the proceeds go to the Greg Rodriguez Fund, which ensures that students who may not be able to afford school trips are still able to attend. There will also be pancakes. And if you're a high school student, you should show up and bring a friend because it's really fun. I also, for my last thing, I have an update on Holocaust Awareness Week in April that we are planning. So the school administration is working with Jared Wasserman and the SFC Communication Committee to put the event together. Right now, as part of this internship, Jared has helped bring in a Holocaust survivor who's going to speak to the high school in April. And there will be a planning meeting to plan different events and discussions for that entire week. Any interested students, faculty, and administration are welcome to attend, and more information about those meetings will be coming up soon. So, yeah, thank you.
I just wanted to say to Molly's point about the SFC ping pong tournament.
Yeah.
Last year, I was badly beaten and I believe hustled by Dr. Dubak. And so Dr. Dubak, if you're watching, I'm in training and I demand a rematch. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you very much, Molly. All right, so now we will begin our first our 2023-2024 budget presentation. I will turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Denise Sarandon.
Thank you. So this evening, we'll be discussing two foundational departments to our district. Our Operations and Maintenance Department, which is responsible for preparing, maintaining, and caring for our district property and buildings. Our property is valued at close to $250 million, over 50 acres of land and 350,000 square feet. Our second presentation will be our Transportation Department, which is responsible for safely transporting all of our students to and from school every day. These two departments represent approximately 15% of our budget and 20% of our staffing. So this evening, I have the pleasure of presenting with Paul Gibbons, our Director of Facilities. Paul is nearing the end of a 15-year career of dedicated service to the district, and he has countless accomplishments. He's a great leader and has made a profound impact on our schools, our students, our culture, and our reputation as a district, and it has been a pleasure to work with him. So with that, I am going to pass it to Paul.
Thank you. Being this is my last opportunity to present a budget. A few thank yous that I have to make. One is thank you to the community. They've been very supportive of our schools, the buildings and grounds. As you can see by the most recent bond project and their support of that. Also very thankful to the current and past boards. They have been very engaged with all our discussions over the years. And I have to say, when I first came 14 years ago, I was very pleased that I came from an county environment, where we had obviously two political parties. We had a county exec who was of one party, members of a board who on different sides of the aisle. We had independents who caucused different ways. So when I came here, I was like, wow, everybody seems to be on the same page. They're asking questions that to a common goal. And it was very, very refreshing. And that theme is held through for 14 years. So I guess thanks to current board, the past boards for that environment that they've maintained for all of those years. So, very productive and, great for the community and the school. Also, thank you to, all the administrators, current and past, for all of their support. They've been equally supportive of the facilities department and all of its staff. And also thank you to all of the building and ground staff, the mechanics, the head custodians, and all the custodians who keep our buildings clean and always, they're always working hard. Could not have done this job for the past 14 years without them. I stood on their shoulders many times, and it definitely took a team. And so thank you. So with that, I guess we start our last budget. Yeah, there's a list of routine things that have to occur, contracted services that have to occur for just maintenance of our schools. And there's plumbing, things do leak, pipes wear out. Trees need pruning, HVAC systems need maintenance. It's almost daily failure somewhere. So these things are for the most part, I could say non-negotiable. You have to keep your systems running and keep your building safe. So that's contracted services, a major part of our budget. In this past year, there's some accomplishments, obviously. One is we're coming to the end of near completion of an energy performance contract. All of the photovoltaic cells have been installed on the 3 roofs of the school. They are all online, so they are collecting the sun's power. We have completed LED lighting at all of our schools. That's replacement of all old fluorescent lighting. We are updating the HVAC controls. That's coming near completion. We're still tweaking that with the winter weather. That's obviously a good time to look at things and work on that. Also done some other things with steam traps, some additional installation, but that project is coming to a close. We have seen some reductions in our energy use as a result of that. We have not necessarily seen reduction in our energy bills, because while we are getting some increased efficiency, we are seeing the rates going up at twice the rate of our improvements. This past year also, we completed some capital improvement at the transportation facility. We installed a new septic system. That was completed in August before the start of school. We've also selected an architectural team and through an RFP process. And obviously the fruits of that have, developed the building condition survey, which led into the bond vote. And now we're at the future facilities planning committee, and now the meetings that the superintendent discussed. So we're moving on along. We also completed our annual visual inspection. It's actually, we did the building conditions survey before the annual visual inspection, but that was required by SAD. And finally, we installed 2 electric bus chargers. We are tapped out at the transportation facility currently with our charging capabilities with the service that we currently have. So we're going to need to implement the improvements that are outlined in the capital bond project in order to go forward with the charging of the next bus. Some budget impacts and challenges we have. Obviously, as we mentioned, our utility costs have gone up very significantly, and partially offset by the EPC, as I indicated, the energy performance contract. We are moving forward with some electrification equipment, including some grounds equipment, which is more expensive. And our contractor supplier costs are also moving along. We've analyzed our budget carefully, line by line, some 70 line items, and they have moved up over the last couple of years. I should mention though that all of those services, over $3,000 are competitively bid or, we take quotations for it. It's really, that pricing is not something we can easily control without cutting scope. And then finally, the budget. As you can see, there are a few line items that have gone up. One is, first is salaries. There are several reasons for that, including there is a new position being added this evening. There's also contingency for construction and transition to a new director of facilities. I'm not sure if you know this, but my position is a civil service position. So where that exactly goes is yet to be determined. There's several hurdles that have to be gone over. And it's also increased funding due to increased field and building use after post-COVID. So building use has gone back up. Also contractual expenses have gone up. You see the 16.8%. We did go over those 70 line items carefully, and we reviewed this year and prior year to project where we would be next year. And that figure is a result of that analysis. Finally, the equipment line includes an electric mower, and it also includes a salt truck, which is about, I think, 12 or 13 years old. Salt on a truck is very conducive to corrosion, and the body of the truck and structure of the truck is rusting. Also significant there is electric, which I mentioned. NIPA has not, we did reach out to NIPA, and they have to explain where we are as a school, and they have not published or committed to any projection as to where the electric cost will be next year. Also gas is projected to go up. Con Ed has published a number but it's a little old for next year, this calendar year actually, which was 18% for an increase over last year. So there are definitely some increases.
Can we go over the telephone number?
I didn't jump on it. Yeah, we were being forced out of POTS lines, plain old telephone lines. Hopefully this number is a little lower, but they actually notified by Verizon. They issued a letter saying you have to move along, and we're doing that. Transportation has already moved. We've migrated over to FiOS, and we had a meeting actually today. There's CET and district office phones, and we're doing it every couple of weeks. We're moving over to the new phones, PVC and high school phones.
And these phones are essential to supporting our fire alarm system, backup to our telephone system, and other security matters. So they are in addition to our voice over IP system.
They're phasing out POTS as a backup.
Yes, so we will now be Verizon, which is considerably more expensive.
Finally, looking ahead, again, to mention, we have a very dedicated, talented staff. They've been dependable, been through a lot of challenges, especially COVID. Mentioned again, but it was a big challenge, and they were here. When the buildings were empty, they were here during construction, during COVID. They were here if a room had an instance of COVID in that room, the room would often be vacated. They would be asked to go in and suit up, masked, and goggles and vests and gloves and the whole bit. And they went through all that without question. So thankful for all of their help during that.
And additionally, through your training and their experience, they perform a lot of in-house projects that we would otherwise have to go out for and pay prevailing wage and secure bids, et cetera. So we have a really talented staff that takes care of a lot of our in-house needs independently.
And they know our systems well. Very even today with our phone systems and the FiOS and whatnot, they have very good experience with that. They're very knowledgeable about how different alarm systems, HVAC systems, how they all work. And they've been very critical during construction too. There's a lot of moving that has to happen. The way in which you clean a building has to be all shuffled. You have to work where the construction is not and be ready to work quickly where the construction finishes up before to get the school back together. And they're very critical, and there's always things that are impacted by construction, unintended consequences. And it could be a number of systems. It could be lines that were severed by a contractor working in the area, or a variety of things. So they've been very helpful through capital projects in the past. This summer, we also have a drainage project. It's part of a capital reserve fund. It's approximately $800,000. It's going to be primarily at CET, the high school, the parking lot, and in the back of the building. And it's also a retaining wall that is on the south side of the 2003 high school addition. The wooden retaining wall was constructed in 2003. It is rotting. It needs to be replaced. So we'll replace it with probably large precast concrete, something that will last longer than 20 years. Very, very difficult spot to get into that, because you're either kind of coming to Old Post straight south at the back of the building, and it's a steep incline. So it'll be a challenge. Those bid documents have been, not the bid documents, but the construction documents have been approved by SED. And we plan on putting that out to bid within the next month. So shortly for summer work. And then finally, we have the capital project, the bond that was recently approved. As the superintendent indicated, we've had stakeholder meetings started this morning. I thought, as he did, I thought they went very well. I thought our architectural team did very well. I thought the input of the administration, the teachers was valuable. I think the spaces, we're in the library and the multi-purpose room. I think that to see some changes to the finishes in that room is really going to make it a much more pleasant place for the students to be. For just a nicer place to go to school. With that stakeholders meetings, there's also additional meetings tomorrow. We're doing Spencer Field. There's follow-up meetings for PVC and the high school projects are broken up. And then following that schematic design, there's going to be a design development, which will extend through the spring. So there'll be some back and forth with those teams. Again, they'll have to come back after their schematic design into design development, and hoping to have most of the design completed by next fall. So by around the start of school, for submission to SED. And I think that's about it.
Any questions for Paul?
So what I understand is that with regard to any of the work that might come out of the bond money, nothing will be done during the summer of 2023. That's right, that you said
At this time, we can't promise that it can be done, right?
okay.
Yeah.
And so in terms of other work outside of that bond work that might be done in the buildings, because I know you always have summer projects of one type or another in the buildings that are done through, using operating funds, which would be in next year's budget. Are there any things that you contemplate that are going to happen in the buildings?
We do anticipate in our other contractual services, there will be some painting. I think the other thing is that drainage work that's going to happen this summer is going to have some impacts. Even though it's outside the building, it's going to have some impacts on the building use. So it's actually good that it's being done this summer. For instance, the high school gym, being that those emergency doors coming out of the main gym are not going to be available with the construction right there. So we'll not be able to use the main gym during the summer. CET, there's going to be a lot of drainage work around the 3rd, 4th grade wing, in the front of the building, the back of the building. So egress is gonna be interrupted there, so we're gonna have to move those people out. So, it's good that it's happening this summer. It's stretching it out a little bit. So to have that happen at the same time as other construction work, would just add another layer of confusion.
Mhm.
So, those things are happening. And we will do some in-house project. We're still, talking to administration as to what things are important in their buildings. We haven't decided on which items in the particular building is gonna happen, but we do typically pick a couple of projects that we can do in-house. You know, and, we haven't decided what they're gonna do yet, so we're working on it.
Okay, just thinking of use of the facilities during the summer, I know that there are village summer programs in the buildings, in the gyms.
Right, right.
Is that something that may be affected by the work this summer? And have we kind of started the discussion with the villages? If it is,
We talked about it yesterday. I have reached out to Bart Duckett at the village, but we typically go back and forth half a dozen times between the winter and the start of the summer. We are gonna have to talk about, obviously, their use of their summer camps. Yeah.
Keep it. Joke, I'm sorry. They go to that camp.
We may have to use different gyms. We may have to use the August gym, you know, instead of this gym. We may have to have summer classes out of third, fourth grade per time. But the fact that we don't have construction going on in other places, I think will make that much easier to do.
because I'm guessing the other part to that, which is not the village, is to the extent we're going to have an extended year program for certain students. I know that we've done in years past. And particularly talking about pandemic recovery that we did last year, we're gonna have to see how that space is available.
Agreed. We also, there's a slim possibility that we could move forward with some of the roofing work involved in the house.
Any other questions? All right, well, thank you very much, Mark. Oh, I'm sorry.
So you mentioned that we're constrained at transportation in terms of deploying additional electric because we're waiting for those additional charger. Is that blocked by Con Edison providing additional higher capacity feed?
Yes.
Oh, that, yeah, there was a process we did file. Our engineer did file, not sure what you call it. A request with Con Ed. But that also go, you know, the process has to work its way through.
Have we had any indication whatsoever from Con Ed as to by when they may be able to provide?
Oh, we need
higher
to,
capacity?
I think some of it's funding that we have to, you know, they're not gonna,
It
Do all
could
the
be-
upgrade.
It could be a 2-year, it could be a 2-year wait.
After we say that we're ready.
No, we're saying that we're ready now to move forward. They are aware, we have our second electric bus coming in a few months. And they know the direction the district wants to go in. We filed for several grants for electric vehicles, so they know our urgency. But the timeline, first of all, the timeline to even assess what that building is capable of, what they're willing to provide us at that building. That's a first step measure, and they're working with our electrical contractors on that. And then secondly, okay, now we know what you're able to provide, what will that entail? It's a long process.
And is it like, I would imagine there's a bit of backlog at
Huge
times.
we did have some discussion with them. I'm not an electrical engineer, but I know that the power needed does not extend up to the building. So there's some, overhead wiring that has to be done. Their question, they weren't sure also. I'm not sure they're willing to commit on it because I think they have a lot of requests on beyond that going back. I think it comes back around Mount Airy. I think power to that comes up over Mount Airy, comes back down and back down 129. Doesn't come from the village up the hill. You notice there's no lines coming up the hill. So it goes kind of a roundabout way up there. But I don't think you can sense that they're very cautious on what they're committing to and on service upgrades right now. So But we have had some communication with them, with our engineer, and some of that's got to start back up, because we just had our the bond approved, and that is part of it, so we have to continue on with that.
But it will be a large infrastructure cost.
Is there any opportunity to utilize renewable sources instead of tapping into the Con Ed network?
We did look into the canopies at transportation, but based on the shape and size of the unit, yeah.
It's that thing, I did have Con Ed Solutions, I believe it is. They might change the name. So I had them up there. We did do a site visit, and we talked to one other firm. Because it's so small, you know, they're looking for something like the
train station.
station, you know, we can, you know, efficiently put up rows and rows of solar collectors, not, you know, little one in the parking lot. It's not a scale.
Denise, when you refer to infrastructure, you're not just talking about the actual implementation of the electric. It's the actual infrastructure of the transportation depot
Yes,
that needs to be built out to accommodate any, right?
correct.
Right, there needs to be a transformer upgrade there
Right.
on site. There needs to be
Site work.
Physical
obviously
space.
wiring,
Yes.
and we have to lay out figure out how the site is going to be laid out.
Right.
So that, you know, could get from the transformer to the charging stations. And the space for all that too. So,
And there's also a real lack of expertise in the Northeast with regard to implementing electric vehicles, you know, on a larger scale. So NIPA has a program that they have promoted, but I think they have one representative who is assisting, and you have, you know, all of the districts who are now tasked with going out electric. So there's a high demand and low expertise at this point, but.
And this would actually require the building out of our transportation depot, is that correct? Because we can't accommodate the electric buses in the transportation depot that we have here.
Because of our size limitations.
So we would, yeah,
the parking area has to be reconfigured.
correct.
Yeah.
We have to blast, and it's all part of that phase of the project.
Thank you. Any other question? No? Well, thank you very much, Paul. Wonderful. Last budget presentation for us.
Well.
Anything from Earl? You can come back. You can come back and, you know, look at our next year.
Sit over here.
Yeah. But are you gonna bring us soda bread?
No.
No.
That's what Paul eats, not the berry. Okay, so transportation, Mr. Bernardi, was, taken ill recently. He is, sorry that he can't be here. And I am too, because no one can really represent his team as well as he can, but I'll do my best. So transportation, safely transporting upwards of 1,000 students daily is a very complex issue. Our buses are on the road 230 days a year. We make 1,000 stops daily, covering 400,000 miles. This is our daily to and from school trips, out of district transportation, sporting events, field trips, district tours, etc. It's a big task. So here is a photo of our amazing drivers with Evie, our first electric vehicle. Many of our drivers are retired professionals, residents of the districts, moms, dads, and just quality individuals who really care about our children and are an integral part of our operation and the Croton family. Listed here is a configuration of our staff. And below, I just wanted to just briefly touch on the requirements for drivers, the 19A requirements. This is not a job for the faint-hearted, I will tell you. The 19A training requirements require timed bus evacuations, extensive written exam, physical performance tests, 30-hour driving course. additional defensive driving courses. They are randomly tested 2 times per year. And this is all in addition to our in-district professional development that entails refreshers, safety meetings, 80+ bus drills per year. This is a great responsibility and evident in their required training and experience. We have a really seasoned team here, and it's reflected in their commitment and evidenced in our low turnover rates. During the national bus shortage, which still exists, we were one of the only districts that was not impacted. And we're pretty proud of that. Okay, so what we drive, that is an aerial view of our transportation department. Thank you, Brad Kennedy, for that. Our district maintains 58 vehicles. We have a full service garage with all of the equipment and talented mechanics to provide maintenance to all of those vehicles. The district holds a top rating under the Department of Transportation Inspection Program, thanks to our incredible team. We have twice per month DOT inspections that take our vehicles off the road for 3 to 4 days. We need to have a backup of 6 vehicles in order to accommodate those DOT inspections, which are quite involved and also involve the input of our mechanics. We've had a 99% DOT rating for the consecutive 17 years, which is really impressive. Neil, do you have a question? Oh.
Not yet.
Yeah, being the operative word.
I know.
Yeah. So you see there our tagline from our former transportation director, Rochelle O'Mara, go green or drive, or go green, ride yellow, pointing out the importance of riding the school bus and that it is equivalent to 36 cars driving to school. Riding the school bus, just as a side, is also a wonderful opportunity for your students to socially mature with their peers. And the district provides quality education, quality transportation. So we encourage that if you're eligible, take the bus if you don't want to walk. And here we have some of our mileage guidelines that exist in the district, just for informational purposes. Efficiencies. So the district participates in a transportation agreement with surrounding district to minimize our costs. We share transportation. It saves on our fuel, our labor, our vehicle deterioration, and also reduces greenhouse gases. We have a Clarkstown fuel consortium that we're a part of, which gives us a lot of purchasing power and reduced rates on fuel. We have recently, through the assistance of, under Joe's request and with the assistance of Russell in the transportation department and our 2 dispatchers, Tanya and Teresa, they have completely automated the 19A auditing process. So now we had files and files of documentation regarding medical testing, vehicle training, etc. That is all now automated, where the reports that are required from DOT are now electronically transmitted, and it's really just streamlined that office incredibly. TransFinder implementation, and another component of our goal to bring our operations to a future-driven place. We implemented TransFinder Pro, which integrates Infinite Campus, which is our student information system, with our bus routing system. So the information is tied. Now a principal or a teacher can go in and see where a student's bus route is. Parents can go in through the portal. We can send out immediate notifications to select families and or all families, notifying them of any changes. So it is, it's saved a tremendous amount of resources and time for that department. We are also advocating through the transportation NIAT for stop arm camera technology. So Westchester County is eligible for a grant through through them, which I know that the advocacy of the board is considering as well. And that would provide grant funding for the installation of stop arm cameras on all of our vehicles, which would be wonderful for safety and other reasons. Budget impacts and unknowns. So our fleet replacement needs at this time, we are meeting as a team, looking at the configuration and need of vehicles. We're finding that we are faced with needing smaller vehicles, more smaller vehicles, because of our out-of-district we transport to 26 out-of-district locations on top of our independent routes. So we're looking at that configuration. We're looking at the availability of vehicles, which is severely compromised at this time. Again, we just can't go out and buy a Suburban. We have to comply with New York State Department of Transportation regulations, which in New York is extremely stringent. So we'll be meeting with the team. I'll be reporting on that in one of our next meetings. What other unknowns? Of course, fuel costs and inflation are some drivers that we will continually be looking at. And then we also are in negotiations with our amalgamated transportation unit, which is our transportation staff. So that outcome is unknown at this time. Budget. Okay, so keep in mind that these are preliminary projections, and a huge part of our budgetary process is not only looking at the past, but it's really assessing our current spending. And this is more essential now than ever before because of the extreme irregularities that we faced in every budget for the past 3 years. There have been swings and nuances that affect staffing, that affect cost, affect quantity needs, etc. So we are looking closely at that. We have 4 months right now. Now that it's February, we'll begin our January fund projections, and we will, get closer to a more accurate projection. One trend that we are seeing, however, is in staffing. So our current appropriations are falling short in the area of overtime because our athletic trips are more than they have been in the past. Our field trips, we're seeing more need for overtime. So we will look at that, more closely. Again, this is a projection and we'll be looking at this regularly. In the area of contracted services, this has also gone up. Because of the location of our transportation department, we are on land that is overseen by the Department of Environmental Conservation. Because we have fuel on site, we have to comply with a number of different agencies, one of which is water testing now. We are now being required to do another level of water testing. That testing is an additional $12,000 to the budget, which is a majority of that increase there. Supplies and parts, based on our current inventory and what we've purchased this year, we think that we can bring that down slightly. Fuel and electrical costs up, as we've seen in other departments. And software down because we implemented TransFinder Pro this year, so it increased that implementation cost slightly. So, there you have it with the transportation budget.
Question? Yeah.
I have several. But my first question is with regard to the need for vehicles, and you said specifically or particularly replacement will be need for smaller vehicles for out-of-district transportation. Last year, when we discussed the availability of electric vehicles of the size that we needed, it was my recollection that there was no manufacturer who as of last year sold a 20-passenger vehicle. Electric for purpose of going on those runs. And, you know, just to remind those in the audience, the reason for that was a 20-passenger vehicle is the maximum that can go on parkways. So our travel to places where we'd have to go on the Sprain or the Sawmill, larger vehicle, we couldn't do it.
Correct.
Is
It's the
there-
chassis. So it's the chassis for those vehicles, which are also the same as
Okay,
emergency vehicles, ambulances. So the manufacturer has decided that the revenue income from those vehicles is not sufficient, so they have ceased building those. I do believe that there is an agreement with another manufacturer that they are now going to be supplying those, but
supplying those as electric vehicles. That's like-
supplying the chassis for the purpose of producing electric vehicles that will comply with New York State regulations.
Okay.
I have to be completely honest, I don't feel fully prepared to respond
No.
to that need. All I can say is that we have been in conversation with multiple vendors, and it is, there is a severe shortage, and they are backlogged for years. And the only other caveat is that we have been, in our effort to become more green and to go electric, we have been kicking this can down the road for a number of years. In that where we, prior to 3 years ago, we were purchasing 2 to 3 vehicles every year. We have not done that in several years, and it's catching up at a time that is challenging to get vehicles. So it is something that we're going to have to deal with.
So I assume we'll hear about that more when
Yeah.
your team is.
When Joe's here.
And it's I imagine is the backlog and the difficulty in supply of these vehicles, is that specifically, is it not just specifically electric vehicles, but also regard to like internal combustion are also backlogged as well?
And it's,
You said you had multiple questions.
Yeah, well, just one other at the moment, which is just understanding what you have up there indicates an expectation that fuel costs will go up 33%, electric up 30%. Right. Is that based, and I know you're usually pretty conservative, based on a reasonable expectation based on current cost?
yes.
So
Again, we
depending,
only have 4 months of data,
right.
but yes,
Yeah, so it may be that while that is an expectation, and for budgeting purposes, that we may end up having fuel or electric not be quite as expensive. But that's basically almost worst case scenario from your perspective. I said almost.
almost, exactly.
Almost.
Yeah, almost, because it could go the other way.
Yep, and the last question, I guess, is on terms of, you said 7.3% increase in salary to deal with additional overtime things. You mentioned that kind of it's under budgeted for this
Yeah,
because of what we found. Is that an issue as far as this year's budget? Or are we able to accommodate the need for additional overtime
we are.
through transfers
Again.
from other?
Again, a lot of these increases also are the impact of us absorbing the federal funds costs that have been covered through ARP and CRISA. So next year, ARP and CRISA no longer exist. So those positions and those roles, not particularly in transportation, but some of those COVID costs in facilities and operations and maintenance that now we're having to absorb that were originally paid for through CRISA funds. So yes,
Okay,
And also, we are anticipating construction with regard to our drainage program. So that's going to involve some relocation, maybe some added staffing, security, et cetera.
Other questions?
Okay, okay. Some upcoming dates. Yeah, next week is our building level budgets, much more exciting than
2 weeks.
Paul and I. 2
2
weeks,
weeks.
2 weeks.
I was like, wait, next
Principals
week.
here, followed by technology, pupil personnel services and athletics, have a work session, then the budget adoption, our public hearing, followed by the May vote on May 16th. And then if you'd like to contact us, budget.questions@tuftsky.org. There's our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Just to clarify, this stop arm camera technology is a camera that would then capture licenses that go past the stop sign.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. Now, our drivers are trained to report a driver. So if they can get the license plate in time, we can report them. Not always the case and easy, but so these cameras would be synced and we could provide the camera footage to our local police department. It will involve an intermunicipal agreement, most likely, in order to do that. There are 2 pilot districts, Somers and Hancock, are now piloting it. I've spoken with their transportation director. They're working really well. So we're excited to move in this direction.
Anecdotally, I had heard that they're like from the start of the year that they've been piloting these, they've got several hundred violations. Yeah. But that is also contingent on legislation pending in Westchester County, because Westchester County right now does not provide for the use of stop arm technology.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And we look forward to continuing these budget discussions and presentations. At our next meeting.
Mind if I let Paul home? Because we have a busy day tomorrow.
Absolutely. We want.
If he leaves, we'll have less time with him before he leaves for good.
Oh. What did you say?
He said if he leaves now, it's just much less time. to get-
We will be back, right?
I was like, I'll come back.
Architects and, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
Yeah.
Good. So we get to see you again.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Have a nice night, Paul.
Thank you.
Good night,
I
Paul.
really appreciate it. All right, so we are up to new business. Recommended action that the Board of Education approves the 2023-2024 school calendar as presented. Before I actually get a move on that, I will turn it over to our administrator to give us a brief sort of rundown of the calendar.
Sure, I'm happy to talk about it, and John, let me know if I miss anything. So annually, the calendar derives from a calendar committee consisting of a group of administrators and leaders of the various bargaining units. And really, in general, in any year, is driven substantially by a number of factors, including SED requirements, collective bargaining requirements, and a number of factors outside of our control, including when certain holidays fall within the calendar. And so one of the, really, in my mind, the element that's different in this year's calendar from most years, but I understand was something that was similar to what was adopted in the calendar maybe 6 or 7 years ago, is due to the fact that the Easter and Passover holidays do not fall concurrently in the spring of 2024. And so in discussion with the calendar committee, again, faculty and staff leaders and administrative leaders, the feeling was, when we talk about equity and inclusiveness, we need to live that in our decisions. And so the feeling of the team was, instead of having what we would call a more traditional spring break of a full week, you see reflected there days away from school to reflect both the Easter holiday in late March, early April, and the Passover holiday in late April. And so I certainly think that that's a representation of the strength of the commitment of the staff to, again, that idea of embracing equity and inclusiveness in the decision-making around the development of the calendar. And beyond that, again, a lot of these are driven by various collective bargaining agreements and requirements around time away from work and days of work, and driven by the State Education Department assessment calendar. So for example, June 26th, the last day of school, is a rating day that's directed by the State Education Department. As we did this past year, we would have the faculty and staff back together before Labor Day. And then for this year, have the students return the Tigers back after Labor Day. John, did I miss anything here?
Got it.
Can I get someone to move the motion? Josh?
I'll second.
I'm sorry, so it's Theo that moved it. And then Josh.
No.
Oh, Omar, sorry. All right, on the question?
And just, I'm sorry, I feel the need to say this, the Rosh Hashanah holiday falls on the 15th to the 17th, because that's absent from the September calendar, so that's.
I think it's on the weekend.
It's because
It's over the weekend,
yeah.
yes, okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's not really a question, but I just wanted to
No.
be clear that it was, that's the reason why it's
It is a question.
absent in September. I just checked, it's the 15th, yeah.
Friday, and, yeah.
Yeah.
And-
Evening of the fifth.
And,
Okay, thank you.
all in favor? Aye. Oppose, abstain, motion carries. We will now move on to 3.2, the 2023-2024 Board of Education meeting dates. Recommended action, the Board of Education approves the 2023-2024 Board of Education meeting calendar as presented.
So move.
On the question,
Can we just,
Theo.
Me and Theo.
yeah, I'm sorry, just for the benefit of the public, what are the two meetings that we're required to have?
So the reorganization meeting that is scheduled right now for July 13th, 2023 needs to take place before July 15th. So
Okay,
it
that's
needs to
very
take place between July 1st and July 15th. So
Okay.
that's the sort of need to do. And then the other one, which is TBD right now, is that BOCES budget vote,
Yeah,
because we don't have that date from BOCES yet.
okay,
So we will need to approve an amended calendar once we do get that date.
I see that there.
Yeah, I just want to add that the statute says for the reorganization.
Yeah.
Says that meeting is supposed to be on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in July, but a board can, at its option, pick any day between July 1st and July 15th. And of course, depending on who are the members of the board, who's elected, if people are not available, the board might on its own decide to change that reorg date to meet people's schedule.
I'm just thinking, from a communication standpoint, we should include that in all of our literature regarding potential
Mhm.
board members.
Yep.
To just let them know that that's a meeting that they should, not
Right.
schedule a European vacation or otherwise. but-
Yes.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Anytime.
All in favor? Aye. Oppose, abstain, motion carries. All right, we'll now move into 3.3, recommended action that the Board of Education approves the provisional appointment of Brad Kennedy as maintenance foreperson, buildings and grounds maintenance, at a salary of $90,000 per year prorated, with an administrative stipend of $15,000 prorated, effective February 3rd, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? All in favor? Aye. Oppose, abstain, motion carries. We'll now move into ongoing business. Recommended action, the Board of Education approves the special education recommendation of student 24779 as presented.
I don't have an attachment now. And they in effect. No.
You're welcome.
I'll look at.
Explain.
I was gonna say, it's pulled out for. Can I get a motion?
Everyone's good. I'll move because nobody else does.
And can I get a second?
I'll second.
Josh. All right, all in favor? Aye. Oppose, abstain? Are you abstaining?
I'm sorry, I didn't look at this before. No, I'm not saying,
Okay.
I'm for
All right, then,
it. So make sure there's no conflict with this.
gotcha. All right. Motion approved. And we will now move into donations. Recommended action, the Board of Education gratefully accepts 3 donations totaling $500 from Eric Kohler and New York Life as a contribution to the Carrie E. Tompkins General Fund. So moved. Theo, is that you?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. On the question? All in favor? Aye. Oppose, abstain, motion carries. Recommended action that the Board of Education gratefully accepts a grant from the Croton Harmon Education Foundation, CHEF, in the amount of $895 for the Vital Dance Crew to perform at Pierre Van Cortlandt Middle School on April 14th, 2023.
So,
Second,
On the question? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Oppose, abstain, motion carries. Recommended action that the Board of Education gratefully accepts a grant from the Croton Harmon Education Foundation in the amount of $499.90 to purchase microphones and headphones for the CHHS Health Ed podcast.
so
second,
On the question? All in favor?
aye,
Aye. Oppose, abstain, motion carries. Recommended action that the Board of Education gratefully accepts a donation of a violin from Rosalie Nathan as a contribution to the Croton Harmon High School Orchestra. So moved.
second.
On the question? All in favor?
I think Josh has.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Statement. It's a significant contribution.
Yes.
String instruments are pricey. And this will make a difference for our students and greatly appreciative.
All in favor? Oppose, abstain, motion carries. We'd like to thank all of our donors for supporting our school district and supporting our students. It really means so much to us that you have taken your time and your funds to support our students. We'll now move into instructional personnel. Recommended action, be it resolved that the Croton Harmon Board of Education hereby appoints Molly Matskin, 1.0 FTE special education teacher as a leave replacement for Corey Martineau in the Croton Harmon School District, effective December 21st, 2022 through February 2nd, 2023, at an annual salary of $65,261 MA Step 1 prorated.
So moved.
Second,
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose, abstain, motion carries. We'll now move into the consent agenda. Recommended action that the Board of Education approves the consent agenda as presented.
so moved,
second,
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose, abstain, motion carries. All right, we will now move into the closing of the meeting, and that we will open our second hearing of the public. Again, if you would like to address the board, you can do so at the podium. You can state your name and provide your email or contact information on the sign-up sheet provided. And please keep your comments to 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Anamika Bhatnagar, and I live at 80 Cleveland Drive. I'm here tonight as the PVC parent representative for the Health and Safety Committee, and also as a community member who has observed our drivers in our community passing stop school buses too many times to feel good about. And I've also heard the same from my neighbors and other parents across the district. So I'm very pleased to hear that the district is looking into funding for stop arm cameras. I know there was a little bit of discussion earlier tonight about the Somers and Hen Hud district's participation in the pilot program, and I wanted to share what I researched, which is in a 2-month period running this test program of having stop arm cameras installed on their buses, Somers actually observed 280 violations over 2 months. That's essentially an 8 of school buses being passed by drivers while they were either picking up or discharging students. And in Hen Hud, 367 illegal passes in that same comparable 2-month period. So those are really major numbers. Stop arm camera technology footage can be provided to police departments under those pilot programs they were, but unfortunately, in order for violations caught on camera to be enforceable, Westchester County actually, and this was also mentioned, does need to mandate that. And right now, I think there is a little bit of a question, at least from the research I've done into this, about whether legislation really is moving forward in Westchester County. When the Examiner News reached out to our legislator, Kathleen Borgia, she said on January 13th that the Board of Legislators has had preliminary discussions about it, but there's nothing necessarily further to report. I do know that the Hendrick Hudson School District has been advocating and plans to be advocating with Westchester County, which is currently the only county in the Hudson Valley to actually not have taken on the responsibility for actually getting these cameras and making the use of them enforceable by police departments. We're the only county who hasn't done it. So I think it's incumbent upon us as a school district to see if there's a way for us to advocate for the same, and maybe there's an opportunity to partner with Hendrick Hudson or Somers after their pilot programs to see if this is something we can move forward. People all over Croton. I live on Cleveland Drive. I've seen it. I've seen it on Benedict Boulevard. We've heard reporting about it happening on Mount Airy, Colaba, like these narrow roads where we know, people are dependent on buses to get to school because that's, you can't walk. So it's really, really crucial, I think, for the district to not only thank you again for putting it into the budget and to be looking into what those opportunities are to get funding, but I think any advocacy that the district can do on this matter could be really beneficial, especially if we can partner with other school districts. Thanks for your consideration.
Thank you.
Maybe that Riley and Truesdale Drive. Still recovering from that committee meeting that I attended a couple of months ago where the majority of the board members in that committee were willing to relegate mostly poor students to the crappiest schools in New York State without a charter option. In spite of the fact that the governor wants to expand that. Now, if you have a question about the financing, that's one thing, but the question about you give a kid a chance, it's the most important thing. That any kid of any color gets a chance to succeed educationally. I'm still upset about that. I can't believe somebody in Croton said that. Item 2 is, I looked in the past for a report by the school district so we can prepare for the future. Emergency happens again. What the academic impact of the COVID shutdown of the school, the masking, the whole process that went on for more than 12 months. What the impact was on the students of this district at all levels. I've never seen that report. I'm sure you have one. I'll check with the clerk. I'm sure you have put out, so you know for next time. Item 3, on the internet. Heavy traffic on some scandal that occurred, I think in the high school here with a math teacher and a student. So the charges of grooming, statutory rape, grooming at an underage to take advantage of the kid. I have no idea what went on. I'm not looking for names. I'm looking for a report on how this school district handled that and how they handle the reporting to the parent and to the police and to the state on incidents like that. I'll deal with this later on a much broader subject at some future date. Third, I've heard no conversation with the TikTok threat, which is basically a Chinese app coordinated through the Chinese intelligence agencies and the Chinese military through corporations, both American and Chinese, in terms of draining away children's personal information, parents' personal information, etc. It was banned for 6 months in the United States under the previous president. This president, who has questionable relationship with the Chinese, reinstalled it. I think this is something that your computer people should be aware of, should make recommendations to the board. Perhaps you've dealt with it already. Maybe I missed it. I'll check with the board secretary, maybe it's already handled that. Item 4 is, if I were a teacher now, in light of the 80 FBI agents assigned to censor Twitter, Facebook, et cetera, and now the scandal at the New York Times over the Steele dossier, in spite of the fact they won a Pulitzer Prize, it must be very difficult for a teacher to say, this is an authoritative source, whether it be government or private. It must be very difficult. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we will now move into board reports. First up is advocacy. Actually, we have not met since our last meeting. Sorry, I'll hop in for Mary since she was unable to attend. We haven't met since our last meeting, but I did share with the advocacy committee members, and at our next meeting, we will be discussing the stop arm legislation and the advocacy efforts that we've been involved in with regard to that. Advocacy efforts have been made on behalf of the districts that are part of the pilot program, as well as some other area districts. And actually our transportation supervisor and superintendent have also sent a letter to the county executive as well, advocating for such measures. So we will look into that and see what we can bring back to the full board.
Let me just add another thing, which is advocacy related.
The budget final came out?
No, well, that's a different issue. And next week, right, we will, you
Yes.
and I are planning to attend the Westport
Yes.
session.
Yep, the legislative forum is February 9th. It's open to any board member who would like to attend. As Neil said, Neil and I are planning to attend. Would be a good, it's a great evening. It's been done virtually for the past couple of years. It's a really great evening to be able to get some time to interact with our local legislators. And so I would recommend anyone who's able to do that during. Also on February 10th in the morning is the NISBA Capital Conference, which is also held virtually. There will be a real deep dive into the budget that was released yesterday. And there will be opportunities there to hear from Commissioner Rosa, from representatives from the governor's office, from the education chairs in both the Senate and the Assembly. So if you are able to join that, I would recommend doing that as well.
I was going to say one thing about advocacy in the night. If it's not too late, perhaps that is a question that might be posed to our state legislators about what might happen at a state level to spur stop arm technology and changes in vehicle traffic law, something to make sure that that technology can be used to the benefit of our students and community. So maybe we'll, for a question.
All right, and then that brings us into board development, which we haven't met. So we will be scheduling a meeting shortly to go over that. Amongst the things that we will discuss is putting together an information session for people who would be looking to run for trustee for the Board of Education. So we'll coordinate that and have more information shortly. And now communications.
Communications met, Josh has the minutes. We talked a little bit about our coordinated efforts to approach the state regarding the lunch contribution, not the budgets now. We were gonna work with the teachers union regarding that. stepping aside from that, a lot of our communications focused on mandatory budget communications that need to come out and information regarding that vote and board members' votes or potential trustees, pardon me.
Yep.
And I mean, I don't know how many of the public have been up to date on the Parent Square conversion that John sent out an email on.
Yep.
Via K-12 and the upcoming signups for updating contact information regarding them. There was some discussion regarding the impact of that over the summer and into the fall to kind of streamline communicating with the community as a whole. And we also talked about another communication survey, not anytime soon, but perhaps in the 24-25 school year, once all of these communication upgrades have been made. So that's kind of where we are with that.
Thank you. Policy.
Policy is scheduled to meet on February 15th. I think I spoke last month about some of the things that are on our to-do list. I'm not sure which ones we will be dealing with in February, but I hope they have some policies for presentation to the board at the March meeting.
Night relays, and I don't have an audit on here. Do you guys didn't meet them?
Yeah, not until, I wanna say, in a couple months, maybe. Audit?
Audit.
Audit.
We'll probably
I'm
set
so
one,
sorry.
something up in April,
Yes,
right?
yes, we just sent out a doodle. I don't know if the responses are out yet, but we have a meeting in April and then another in June. And I'll give a report after we have our preliminary audit in February for the single audit. So I'll give an update on the status of that. Late February, so.
All right, now we'll move on to polling report. Does anyone have anything for polling? I would just like to report that after attending the high school student faculty congress meeting, I did put in a shameless plug for our high school students to watch our last work session where we discussed and took the innovation team's approach to discussing ChatGPT. And John was with me at that meeting, and it was a wonderful opportunity to kind of be able to reflect to the students in the room that as a board and as an administration and as a community, it was something that we were, I felt at least very proud to be able to say, like, we are embracing this. We are having conversations with you about this. We look forward to having conversations with you about this and using this as a tool, as opposed to other districts which are immediately banning it. And John was very eloquent, I think, in communicating that, and Ms. Fiorini was there also. And I did ask everybody to go and watch that meeting, and to those of you who didn't skim right to that work session portion, I apologize, but I think that it was interesting to be able to convey that to the student body, like we actually had a meeting about this, and we because it is what everybody is talking about, so it's timely.
No, then Josh.
Apropos of what Anna just reported, I met or participated today in the meeting of the High School Building Planning Council, where the discussion was also about chat GPT and a continuation of a discussion that had begun a month ago. A very wide-ranging discussion with faculty, parents, and the student participants about the technology and how it might be used in support of teaching and support of assessment, in also considering how students can learn how to use it positively, excuse me, and how faculty and staff will be able to, not in a punitive manner, but in a positive manner, be able to identify when it is being used by students, in essence, not to do the work, but to have the work done for them, and more significantly, to try to instill, as one participant in the meeting said, a culture in which the student feels pride in the student's work, so that they will not use the crutch of this technology. The other thing that we noted, and this may have also been discussed at Building Planning Council, is the fact that 2 months ago, we weren't even talking about it. And now we're talking about uses of this technology in ways that nobody even knows. And so 2 months from now, we may be talking about something even that we haven't even thought about. So part of what we discussed today was the consideration of that technology, and not so much as we deal with it today, but we deal with technology and technological advances in a way that we can prepare students for the future, not just to address today's issue.
Josh?
So I attended Building Planning Council today at CET. The principal topic of discussion has been some of the changes that are being planned around the school building as part of the facilities project. There's also some discussion about some of the shorter term decorative work that's being done to make use of some of the surplus lucite dividers that have accumulated, that we have learned were that are not needed now, and finding a way to repurpose that material for some new purposes to display artwork, photographs, etc. inside the school building in a way that they can be replaced over time, which is, I thought was very interesting. The other matter that I have polling is I was approached by a couple of homeowners who live in the area of the corner of Radnor and Thompson Avenues. And their concern is that parents of students at PVC have been using Thompson Avenue, and to a certain degree Emerson Avenue, which dead end at PVC's property, as impromptu drop off and pickup locations for their kids who are students at PVC. And that this is causing traffic problems in the area, blocking driveways, including parents who were waiting to pick up their children who refused to move their vehicles away from driveways that they were blocking. And I just wanted to call it to the district's attention that, our neighbors are not happy about that. And we should be communicating with, hopefully we can find a way to communicate with the parents that they should not be using those locations for pickup and drop off.
Mr. Plotkin sent out a communication last year to PVC parents. I mean, because I think it's predominantly PVC parents with a different traffic pattern. So I think to the extent I'm aware that the district has been made aware of that, the same way that most people know that when a stop sign flings out from the side of the bus, they should also stop. There's no judgment, I guess. But I do just want to say that I know this is a parent who lives in the area and who also has students at that school, and received the email like Michael Plotkin, and I think in conjunction with the village actually came up with a whole new traffic pattern. Huge blocked off areas, and people do what they want to do, but I do second your heed or call to be more polite to your neighbors.
Absolutely. Anything else?
We had PVC Building Planning Council today. And we had good discussion around
You were PVC?
Yeah.
Plus you were
CCD.
CT, I'm sorry.
See,
I did not go to college.
Did you go? Did it
I
help?
did not. But March is National Nutrition Month, and so they were talking about having students do kind of concerted effort across all the buildings, CEP, PVC in the high school, and doing some info posters and talking about health and wellness. We also talked about the code of conduct, and I have to say, I truly appreciate Mr. Plotkin. He started out highlighting how his motivation for this is to make sure that PVC is a warm, nurturing, loving environment for all children. And that how can we embed restorative practices in the code of conduct? So we had some good discussion around it. We will be revisiting it at the next building planning council, some minor tweaks, which I think would streamline a little bit, code of conduct, and embed a little bit more restorative practice language in there.
thank you. Anybody else for Poland?
Last shameless
Yep.
plug for the PVC modified girls basketball team today. I'd just like to congratulate them on their victory over Henrik Hudson. It was a well fought sporting event, and go Tigers.
Well, you can do that.
Yeah, I can.
The varsity girls
Yes.
basketball team had a
Yes.
very impressive victory yesterday
They did.
against North Salem, who had beaten them last time, and I think I was very pleased, let's say very pleased with their effort and also with the varsity girls basketball coach and staff, who, from what I saw and in discussions with various people, I found were very there's a lot of positive energy at that team. I've got
Yeah.
a couple other reports. First is on January 10th, Theo and I attended the district-wide safety team. Who participated in that meeting, which is consists of members of the police department, representatives of the police department, and fire department, and our outside consultant from Alteris, and faculty, staff, administrators, board members. We discussed various items regarding building safety, district-wide safety programs, relationships between our police departments and other police departments in case of a critical incident. We discussed the visitor management system, including the improvement of the high school entry system to make sure that we're not going to, we have a place where someone goes before they enter the building. We talked about other issues which obviously are sensitive, but I just think I can say, you can, if you agree, that based on what I've seen, that we are, as a school system, very attentive to and concerned and working hard to ensure that we are prepared for any situation that may arise. Hold on just 1 second. I gotta look at my calendar and see. I guess the other thing, well, is that Sarah and I, along with the administrative team, met with the village on the village management on the 26th, and we spoke about the upcoming plan, which I don't think I will be wearing period costume. I have looked, and contrary to what I was told, there are no period costumes in the dungeon for me to dress up for you.
I think that's becoming.
You guys are out of luck,
I say
I
that's
guess.
disappointing.
Yeah,
So sad.
I know. So sad.
Theater housing, theater housing.
Yeah, right.
Gently used.
There you go.
But we also talked about the recent, or the new developments in the village, large scale residential developments, and how those may have an impact on the schools. And we are prepared to, deal with that. And I guess, let me just check my notes to see if there is anything else.
I think you got
I
it.
think you got it.
No, that we talked about at that meeting. Um,
The hundred twenty-fifth, future plans, we don't have anything that's coming up for this coming year.
that's it.
All right. All right, well, then we'll move on to items needed for the next Board of Education meeting. As Denise shared with us, our next board meeting on February 16th will be a budget work session. And we will be excited to hear from Denise and our building level administrators on the building level instructional budgets. Yes, Josh?
Does that include co-curricular?
So be prepared for a robust discussion and presentation there.
Lots of process.
And if there's nothing else, recommended action that the Board of Education enters into executive session to discuss a student's record which must remain confidential pursuant to FERPA.
So,
Second.
On the question? All in favor? Oppose, abstain, motion carries. We expect that once we conclude our executive session, we will adjourn. So thank you very much for joining us this evening.